Night, the city of Lagos went agog as all routes.
Be the first to know. From the north, south, east, west and around Africa, we break the news.
One Nigeria.
Now you can catch all the actions live as the news breaks. We are Core TV News.
Welcome to Core TV.
24-hour news station.
Thanks for joining us on Cool Digest Monday. I am Nifemi Oguntoye, where we'll bring you in-depth review and analysis of stories as they emerge in Nigeria. If you check the front page stories on every newspaper, at least I have 4 here right in front of me. The Vanguard says, ceasefire deal with Boko Haram, negotiations continue despite killings. That's what the federal government is saying. Says Boko Haram will keep promise to release Chibok girls. Sect sacks Adama village, many killed, houses razed, and will no longer reply critics on abducted girls. That's what the PDP is saying. The Nation says Chibok girls, anxiety over federal government Boko Haram deal, and parents, community, activists, others doubt deal. Talks today in Chad. Of course, as the show goes on, I'll read some excerpts for you, what the Chibok community leader is saying and what a particular rights activist by the name Shehu Sonny also has to say. And on the Punch, peace talks split Boko Haram into 2 factions. Anti-truce faction threatens negotiation, and sect captures another Borno town, beheads 6. I'm joined right now in our live studio here in Lagos by retired Colonel Hassan Stan Lambo, and of course is also a security expert and MD CEO. Let me just bring that in now. Hick Security Consultant. Good morning, sir, and thank you for finding time to join us.
Thank you, Nifemi.
The last time we spoke, you talked about having faith in the Nigerian government, given the supposed credibility that we seem to see as regards what they now call a ceasefire deal. Are you surprised that less than 2 or 3 days after that deal, there's another attack in Borno State?
Nifemi, I'm not surprised. Speaking from hindsight or from the professional angle, I would tell you that when you are dealing with insurgents, frankly speaking, there is always this problem of a unified command. All right? I expected it. I saw it coming, if you ask me, yes. Because in the first place, I was expecting that before we actually sit down to begin to negotiate or enter into any initial agreement, we must first of all ensure that we already have a unified command from the insurgents. So whoever is talking should be talking on behalf of the entire factions. Okay. That is the more reason why they are terrorists. At the slightest provocation, a faction emerges. I'm even expecting more factions to emerge, if you ask me. So we should take some pain to ensure that, look, they put themselves together and speak as a team.
Well, given this level of knowledge, we also expect that the Nigerian military shouldn't have just let down its guard at the mention of a ceasefire deal, given the credibility of the terrorist group in question.
I don't want to believe that the military has let down its guard. No. I mean, we have very sound officers there who know what they are doing. Okay. More so the top military hierarchy. With what I know of most of the very senior officers there, I don't think we've let down our guards in any way, Nifemi. I want to believe that as we talk, as discussions are going on at the strategic level, at the operational and tactical level, the military is busy repositioning without breaching whatever has been reached as agreement in terms of the ceasefire. The military is busy rebuilding in terms of logistics, repositioning to ensure that they take vantage positions and so on. In case it turns out at the end of the day that these guys are going to renege in any form or shape, we should not be held, caught, off guard.
But what impact do you think this breach in the negotiation has now on the potentials of the ceasefire?
As a professional, I would say no impact. In fact, like I told you, it is expected. The only thing we shall be talking with the mediator, that's the Chadians. This is where the mediator has a role to play. he now begins to interface with BH and begin to let them know, you know, there's a breach here and so on, and they'll tell you, yes, we are sorting that out and so on. And we must also bear something in mind. Their chain of command and nature of dissemination of information cannot be as effective as ours. We must take all this into consideration, all right? They cannot be as perfectly driven out the way we are,
okay.
All right? And then before you begin to talk of their sense of discipline. In the army, or in the conventional army, even as a commander, if I disagree on my own, that is my personal business. I must stick to what I'm being told to do. In their own case, if a commander on ground disagrees, he does what he wants to do. That's the level of discipline. Yeah.
Well, beyond all of that now, one is also at this time thinking about what happens thereafter, because the federal government is saying on the front page of the papers today that Boko Haram will keep promise to release Chibok girls. Where did they get that kind of faith from, especially with the recent breach that was experienced recently?
Femi, we must all have faith and exercise what I want to call cautious optimism in the entire negotiations and the agreement we're going into for the sake of our girls. We need these little girls back home. And whatever faith and hope we want to pour into what is going on, we should be able to. I said cautious optimism, that is to say, whatever we're doing with some caution anyway, making sure our men are on guard, because it is not yet Uhuru.
You know, it's the logic behind all of this that baffles me.
Yes, please.
This is a terrorist group that has been known for its depth of ideology.
Yep.
Boko Haram literally means Western education should be abolished or something, at least something in that light. Now we are hearing a name, Amodu or so, who calls himself the General Secretary of Boko Haram. I mean, that sounds Western in of itself. Shouldn't we pick the logic from there that we're probably not talking to the right person?
I don't want to believe so. And why am I saying I don't want to believe so is because we have a third-party mediator here, which is the Chadian president. And when you look at the profile of the Chadian president himself, I hope you know where he's coming from. He's also been out there. I don't want to say, well, I want to say that, look, he's also been out there. He knows what it is to be out there. And he's got a great deal of tappings on these guys.
Okay.
All right? Falling back to what I think Chad want to do for us, which they know will definitely also enhance their own diplomatic relations with us. They will go to every extent to ensure that these things work out.
That's all right.
Yes.
But how would you now describe this particular war we're fighting? Because given the terms, negotiation, ceasefire, it's a conventional war between the Nigerian army and probably the Boko Haram army, or what do we call them now?
A ceasefire is a temporary cessation of hostilities to allow for further exploration of other tools of negotiations. I mean, other windows of, peace or negotiations and so on. It's just a temporary thing. It allows us to talk.
Given what Boko Haram is known for, its ideologies,
Yes, please.
is there any room for negotiation as regards what their demands are?
Irrespective of whatever their demands are, it's like you go to the market to buy an item, and the woman who is selling it, an item which ordinarily will go for 8 naira, she says 80 naira instead of 8 naira. That does not put you off.
Okay.
You still come down and say, what of 10 or what of 6? Until at the end of the day, you buy it at 7.5 naira. So they have placed certain items on the negotiating table. It is left for us to go bargain. Fine, we go there and do our bargain, making sure we are not disadvantaged in any way.
Okay, let's quickly touch on the Chibok girls in particular. Today makes it 187 thereabout.
Yes.
One of the newspapers carried it. I'm not sure of what number it is now, but I'm sure it's something above 180 thereabout.
Yeah.
Now we are discussing negotiations. During the Bring Back Our Girls campaign, one person particularly said that they knew what happened when Mr. President's uncle was kidnapped,
Yes.
and he was later released, that it didn't take up to 180 something days to make that happen. Would you say, of course we know it's better later than never,
Yeah.
but would you say that the federal government has been really proactive in their efforts to bring back the girls?
Well, all along, I have always said, especially on this platform, that I know certain, what do you call it, under the table negotiations or arrangements were ongoing. And you will agree with me that with the development within the last 48 hours, it has proven me to be correct. I kept saying it all along, even when government officials were talking about some rescue operations, which I completely condemned here and said it was not possible, except you are talking to ignorant individuals who don't know what a rescue operation is. I knew something was going on. Now as to the level of proactiveness and so on, I think, look, we are talking with terrorists here, and you can even see the extent to which government has gone. You have seen certain fallouts that have emerged. All these are the sort of things which I want to believe they were trying to make sure they take care of before they come out with the announcements. Despite that, we can see what is still coming out. All right? I would, fine, the whole thing delayed, fine. All right? It lasted too long. But now, whether was it the making of the government or not the making of the government, the most important thing is we are on track to getting our girls back. I want us as a nation at this point to stop passing the blame. Oh, government could have done it. Let us be in unison the way we were under the Ebola problem and how unified we were as a nation. I just wish we can come back together that way. Drop all the politics that have been involved, stop all the blame passing and whatever, and be unified in our commitment to get back our girls. That is our number one issue on this matter, not any other thing.
Can we totally absorb this issue of its political coloration? Because while some are saying, some are indicting the APC of funding the Bring Back Our Girls movement, others are saying that the PDP is also using the release of the of the girls rather, as a campaign tool. But just before you answer that, let's take this call from Ibadan. Good morning, Olarewaju. How are you today?
Fine. Yes, Olarewaju from Ibadan.
Please go ahead with your contribution.
Yes, I want to share my take on the platform this morning based on the name that Boko Haram and federal government reached this ceasefire. As an optimistic and minded fellow, I'm really happy with this kind of the news on the first burner. But to me, I'm relatively skeptical that in a kind of situation like this, the two parties involved are expected to talk. And we have heard from the federal government, nobody from the Boko Haram group has made a statement to justify that for the ceasefire has placed. And when you look at it, there are some certain intrigues and intricacies around, telling us that there is faction between the Ghetto group. So when you look at it also, in order to avoid the effort being sabotage, there is need to redefine the whole approach that the both party must expressly read the agreement as we have read in the paper. It is only signed from the federal government that we are hearing, not from the side of the group. So when you now look at it as whole, people will define that there is a relative faction. So if proper care is not taken, I think it's likely to back to where we are coming from. And I'm afraid that if this continues like this, I think it has affected the situation of this country in the large extent. So I pray that this time around, they reach the consensus and the issue of Boko Haram becomes the issue in this country. So I want to appeal very strongly that it requires sincerity of purpose from the both sides, not that only for the federal government. And I want to appeal for the people around that are benefiting from these sinister activities. But the proof are made from the government and from the district, because we realize that some people are feeling fat out of this matter. We have some family are crying day by day. In fact, as an Afro-patriotic Nigeria, I'm more worried, I'm highly skeptical about the development. But how I wish, as a Nigeria, that the issue of Boko Haram become the history. May God bless Nigeria, may God bless South Africa, and may God bless the station.
And may God bless you, Olarawaju, for your very lovely contribution from Ilorin. Let's put this political coloration aside for a while. We're going to get back to you. But he made a statement very, very interesting. You know, there's a particular Boko Haram that people know, that the people of Nigeria know. The Ibrahim Shekau that always come up on the video. You know, that's the kind of Boko Haram that Nigerians understand. Does it not baffle you that we have not heard anything from this sect via their same medium as regards to the ceasefire deal?
Yes, it does. It does. You see, maybe because of the passion I have, you know, placed in the release of these girls, I just don't want to tell myself, look, anything is going on wrong, the girls are coming forth. They will come. But you see, coming from the angle where you are coming in from, yes, a part of me tells me something is wrong, something is amiss. And when I look at the entire thing, I know that, look, I think the entire agreement or initial steps we have taken have not been well put together.
Okay.
It has not been well put together because, for instance, I would want to say, why is it that Boko Haram has not spoken out till now? For instance, in lending a support to the fact that, yep, we are part of the whole ceasefire arrangement going on. They've not spoken out yet. And then looking at the Shekau gentleman you talked about.
Is he really a gentleman?
Well, I'm just trying to be civil on air.
It's all right.
Looking at the Shekau man, I think to me, it spells out something we have not done. I want to call it a little blunder, intelligence-wise. By now, I expect the Nigerian military to have cloned our own Shekau.
How do you mean?
Good, I will explain to you. Some of these things should actually not be discussed in the air, but let's just discuss a little bit, a little part of it. After we killed Shekau, before some of these clowns started resurfacing as Shekau, which to me I see as their own cloned Shekau, we could have already, in order to break whatever unity that exists within the Boko Haram, we could have cloned another Shekau and produced a Shekau. Now, when we talk, that Shekau will respond first of all, before their own cloned Shekau respond. So at the end of the day, there will be two Shekaus talking until they will be forced to either come out to the real Shekau or come out to say, our Shekau is dead. We don't know all the two Shekaus. All these things happen.
It's all right.
Do you understand me? It happens within intelligence cycle. They'll do it and project it. And the guy will be releasing all sorts of press releases and so on.
No,
talking tough like
are you not in one way encouraging the federal government to be deceptive in its relation with its people as regards this battle of insurgency?
Are you interested in winning the battle or you are interested in winning the war? You bloody well win the war and forget the battles. Are you interested in getting your girls back and rubbish Boko Haram? Or you are interested in some moralistic, what do I call it, moralistic tendencies? Look, this is a battle. The code of conducts are quite clear. And for heaven's sake, by cloning a Shekau, we have not gone to burn down any church or mosque, which is against the rules of engagement or against our code of conduct.
All right, let's leave that for a while now. Not quite a number of people as optimistic as you are. An example is a non-governmental organization by the name Save Adamawa Communities from Terrorists, who came up to say that they doubt the ceasefire agreement that federal government claims to have with Boko Haram. The group further expressed its concerns that this may be a ploy by the insurgents to re-strategize. What are your reactions along that line?
Yeah, on one of the media a few days back, I mentioned this same thing, that look, it is not yet Uhuru. Let's look at the options that could play out. It could be that Boko Haram has gone short of supplies,
okay,
all right, in terms of all forms of logistics, ranging from food to ammunition and what have you.
Given the recent,
and of course, the recent
casualties they suffered.
Thank you, and so on. And so there is a need for them to have a breathing space to be able to recoup. All they need to do is call for a truce. These things are played out everywhere. I mean, terrorists do it everywhere. And that's why you have to be very cautious when you're dealing with them, when they are the ones calling for it. They call for it while you are all there busy negotiating. They are receiving their arms and ammunition. They are restocking and so on. They are relocating, changing their positions from where you used to know them to be and so on. That is why I said it is not yet Uhuru. Our military should remain at the on-guard position all through.
Okay.
Surveillance should be out there, making sure that if they are changing locations, you know where they are moving to next, and so on. Meanwhile, you are also changing your own locations, gaining good positions, so that you have a vantage position, and so on. Moving logistics forward as much as possible, especially heavy equipment. All sorts of things, you know, so that in case it turns out that this is just a hoax, it's not a serious thing, you are so advantaged and you give them now a serious pounding that they will forever regret.
You know, Colonel,
they went into this.
Some have also questioned the level of professionalism involved in all of this. Because you recall at the time, the chief of defense staff also came up to say, we know where the girls are, but we cannot just go there. And that came and nothing happened. Some would have thought that this ceasefire deal shouldn't have been made public at this time, especially for a security outfit that knows that Boko Haram might have different sects. For instance, if this was not on the front pages of the papers, the other sect might not even really know that a ceasefire deal is going. If they are sure that they know which group is holding the girls, I mean, they should have gotten the girls back before telling Nigerians about it. How do you react to that?
In the first place, if I were to be government, the statement I would have released would have been that talks are ongoing towards arriving at a ceasefire.
Okay.
Rather than telling us we have a ceasefire. Talks are ongoing towards arriving at a ceasefire. Meanwhile, there is already a ceasefire. Meanwhile, you have already told troops to halt hostilities and so on. So since you have not told us that there is a ceasefire yet, this development that happened where Boko Haram, you know, attacked some areas wouldn't have created any, what do you call, any form of panic amongst Nigerians.
You agree with me that
right?
Our military authorities were as professional as they should.
Our media operations have never been well managed. I keep saying that. And we have very sound fellow who is in charge of that. General Priest is a very sound officer. Very, very sound. It's my childhood friend. We grew up together. Sound officer. Very sound. So something is amiss somewhere in the way we are managing information. Okay? It is important that we look at that very well. Very, very well. Our management of information is a bit poor. And we need to address that.
Well, the federal government is hopeful, and the deadline is Tuesday, as well with the release of the Chibok girls. Not quite a number of people are optimistic as regards the D-Day. I actually had someone on set who said, if those girls are released, then I will join Boko Haram. I mean, he went that far to show his pessimism. Which side do you stand as regards the Tuesday deadline?
They will be released.
Tuesday is just less than 24 hours.
I don't want to go with the timelines.
Okay.
I don't want to go with the timelines because, in fact, let me share my thoughts with you now. In the first place, I'm not going with the timelines. Secondly, I don't foresee the entire 218 girls we're expecting to be released in one full swab, bam, to us. No. If you ask me why, I'll tell you this. Right from when the CDS made that initial error of telling us we know where the girls are, the guys holding these girls are not daft. Immediately, without being told, and even whether they did it or not, I can tell you confidently that by that statement, they immediately started dispatching these girls to different locations in 20s and in 10s.
So they probably
using
are not
them
together.
as shield, using them as shield, using them as collaterals, and so on. Do you understand me? So that at the end of the day, if you want to carry out your so-called rescue operation, let's see how you do it. At best, you will save some 10 girls somewhere, while 190-something are still held. You understand? We gave out our strong point when he made that statement, and it really worked to their own advantage. Now, how are these girls going to come to us? Hopefully, the mediator will play a better role, because I want to believe the agreement, if well tidied up, will spell out a great role for the mediator to play. That's the third party now, which is the Chad or the Chadians. It's either these girls are assembled and moved over to the Chadian government and placed under their care, then we would have to come pick them up. Of course, our Air Force can handle that. You know, we have enough logistics to do that. Now, but will they be able to assemble all the 218 within 24, 48 hours and so on? Are we ready to wait until they are complete? Or if the Chadian government says, come and be picking the ones that are available, we'll start going and be picking them. I don't expect to see all of them coming in one full swap.
Just a minute, Colin.
Now,
let's take this call from Kaduna.
Okay.
Hello, Usman.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning, Usman.
Yeah, good morning. How are you? And how is your job?
It's a bedroom voice.
Yeah, I want to contribute on this CEASEFIRE organization.
Can you speak louder than that? I can hardly hear you from here.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead now.
I want to make a contribution between this Boko Haram issue.
It's all right. Go ahead.
CEASEFIRE.
Go ahead, Usman.
Yeah. You know, initially before, people were accusing former governor that Ahmad Sharif on the hand on this issue of Boko Haram. To our surprise now, he is the person who took the president to Canadian president for a dialogue. Then another issue now where we're seeing the Canadian president stand for Boko Haram. You know, there is a complicated issue on this issue. They have to come out and clear the issue to people. The issue of insecurity in Nigeria is the primary assignment of federal government. Once people have lack of confidence in their leaders, there is no way whereby somebody is going to achieve whatever it is. We are now confirmed really that this administration has to be questioned. You have to be called, you have to be questioned. Since earlier before, people were saying that you have to do dialogue on this type of the ethics of our to do. Why, when something has become to rush everything, is now they are working the idea of this fire. And the so-called accused person was the person in charge to the Canadian president. Then the Canadian president is taking time for Boko Haram.
It's all right. Thank you for your contribution, Usman. When you called in us and able to turn down the volume of your TV set and speak as loud as we can. I heard certain things you said, but not, obviously, completely, not everything. You see, another amazing part of all of this ceasefire deal, what some have even called rather ridiculous, is the fact that there are promises that these girls will be brought back hale and hearty. After 160 days in abduction with a group known to have been responsible for killing thousands in the past years. How realistic is this claim?
I expect the federal government by now to be asking the negotiator or the mediator, have you confirmed the well-being of these girls? I mean, we should be able to be talking with the mediator, just the way they should be able to be talking with him, because he's the go-between. Please, can you confirm the well-being of these girls? It will also further help us in our preparation. I want to believe we are preparing for the arrival of these people. that's a different discussion of
In the
its
way
own.
of rehabilitation and all of that.
Yes, yes, the DDR program, disarmament, what's it called? Like disarmament and downsizing and all the rest of, you know. And then, of course, we should know that once the girls arrive here, under the, because they will be going, in the case of the girls, they'll be going straight for the, what's it called?
Rehabilitation.
The rehabilitation program. And the first step in their own case, I expect will be the medical checkup to ascertain their well-being, and then separate, most likely, the pregnant ones away from those who are not pregnant, so that we know those who will be running whatever program spelled out for them, alongside with maternity checks along the way. Why those who would not require maternity checks as time goes on. We should be able to put all this in place. Do we have a qualified hospital already set aside by now? Do we have qualified hands on ground just awaiting for these girls? Or it is when they come, we start running helter-skelter in our usual way? I want us to prepare for these things the way we took the Ebola, you know, challenge, such that when the girls come, they fall into good hands immediately. They go into hospitals and doctors are already working on them.
You obviously are not a proponent of the belief that we're probably going to have them back altogether fine, altogether beautiful, altogether hale and hearty.
No, I think that would be too much of an assumption, frankly speaking. 218 girls, been away for nearly 6 months or so. I think they must have been distributed to about 20 different locations. I think some ruffians somewhere have not touched some of them. Let us not over-assume.
Okay.
The medical test will give us the actual position of things. It is better to assume that some are pregnant and then they turn out not to be pregnant than to start working on the wrong assumption that, oh, they are all in good condition because some terrorists told you they are in good conditions.
The group we discussed earlier, the Save Adabawa Communities from Terrorists, says that they also raised the alarm over the invasion and destruction of 9 villages in Hong local government area of the state. Now, they believe that the solution to ending the siege on Adamawa villages by the Boko Haram sect may lie in allowing individuals to arm themselves with a view to protecting their communities. What are your thoughts along that line?
No, I don't share their opinion. I think the federal government has the capability to protect every Nigerian.
Has the government proven that over the years?
We, the people, will force the government to do what we, the people, want the elected government, whom we have put in place, to do.
How?
This is a democracy.
Okay.
So what are we talking about? The problem with us in this country is that, look, I'm a military man. I should not even be saying this. I expect civilians to be more concerned about this. I'm used to dictatorship. Okay? But thank God for democracy. We, the people, I repeat, will tell the elected government we have put in place what we want it to do. They are servants to us, for crying out loud. They are not our masters. Forget that they have assumed the role of masters. But once in a while, we should draw their attention to the fact that, look, you guys are servants. The Niger State governor is telling the whole world how he's a chief servant, and we are seeing it. For heaven's sake, they should know that. We tell them we need enough protection. Most of us up north have gone down south and will now live down south as if we don't have a village anymore. For Christ's sake, the government must provide protection for the people. Get Nigerian youths employed into the police. Get Nigerian youths employed into the military and let them provide protection. What is the problem? You cannot pay salaries or what? Not until we begin to engage useless money that has no job and so people can carry them away, we shall never find our feet. There is unemployment. We do not have enough people in the military. We do not have enough people in the police. And yet we are not trying to employ more. People are still feeling unsafe in villages, at border locations, and so on.
Just a minute, Conrad. Let's take this call from Benin. Good morning, Osadolo. Hello, Osadolo, are you there?
Yeah, good morning.
Obo here, right? Please go ahead with your contribution.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, clearly. Go ahead.
foremost, I would like to demand I'm him. I believe my reason of calling is just to appreciate the man for what he's saying. Because if you look to what that man is saying, I believe that he's really speaking the act of so many Nigerians. For him to use that word, that they should be separated if they are out, that we should assume that some are pregnant and some are not. Which means this man is speaking the prepared truth of it, and that is that. Hello?
Go ahead, please.
Hello?
Go ahead, Osadolo, go ahead.
Yeah, so which means that man is saying the truth. And my contribution to this again, is you see, the last man that just called, the last speaker that called, before my own call now, he made a point also. These governments that we are into now, we don't really believe when he's saying the truth and when he's not saying the truth. Some time ago, the same government were saying, are these guys really missing? Now, government is coming again to tell us, you are not sure that gets happening. Why are you negotiating? The same government said that a so-called bring back our guests, so-called political opponents on thereabout. Then at the same time, it shows the whole thing is just bizarre. So I would like to thank the man there. I don't know whether it's a good time for him to retire. And even if he's retired, what don't you think that this kind of man, we need it to work with us in this government, present one we are now? Thank you so much.
It's all right. Thank you. Thank you very much, Osadolo. Regards to people there in Edo State. Thank you for your contribution. Well, Colonel Hassan Stalambo is retired and is presently the MD of Egg Security Consultant. But maybe subsequently we'll also talk about the involvement of private security in all of this. And we hope that you stick around as we discuss developing stories about the release of the Chibok girls in the course of this week. I understand that your schedules are tight, but now that Nigerians want you here, I think you will want to stick around.
Definitely.
It's all right. We're going to round up this way. We talked about the political coloration, how divided Nigerian politicians are, and you also made reference to how successful we were able to deal with the Ebola virus disease. Some have suggested that possibly they knew that you cannot be politically immune against Ebola, whether you are APC or PDP. even Ebola has found its way to Spain and the United States. What does this have to say as regards the quality of leadership, political leadership, that exists in Nigeria?
It's unfortunate, frankly speaking. I often don't like throwing a blanket condemnation on our politicians because I know I have come across some very serious-minded politicians that really make me feel proud as a Nigerian. But let me hasten to say that 80 to 85% of our Nigerian politicians appear to be people who don't even know what they are doing. They appear to be individuals who were just looking for jobs, and since the opportunity came up and they have some money, they felt they should go into politics. And unfortunately for us, the Nigerian political environment is such that it never throws up its very best. And this is mainly because there is always a lack of internal democracies within the political parties. Since there is always a lack of internal democracy, our best 11 are never playing on the political, in the political space. So, unfortunately for us, we find mediocrity at every point, local government, state level, federal level. Mediocrity all along. At times, I sit down and look at the president's men, his aides, and I shake my head. 80% of the president's aides are not fit to work under the presidency. They are not, and I know what I'm talking about, both in terms of articulation and what have you. And meanwhile, we have better Nigerians all out there. The president should take time. If he's coming in again in 2015, I beg him to please take time and select his men.
It's all right. We'll just have to wrap up there, and we'll hope we'll continue. We'll take it up from there the next time you join us, hopefully in the course of this week, as Nigerians await to see what happens tomorrow. It's 189 days. Today makes it the 189th day after the abduction of over 200 schoolgirls from Chibok, Borno State. The federal government is talking about a ceasefire deal, and we are all hopeful that this indeed will happen soon, and Nigerians for once will be glad that our girls are back with us. That's it on Cool Digest Monday. I'll be back, God willing, tomorrow with another exciting edition. I am Nifemi Oguntoye. Stick around for the top of the hour news.
From time immemorial, women have birthed life, shaped character, and by extension, influenced the society. Moremi of Ife, Emoten of Benin, Queen Aminat of Zaria, all women of influence and power.
Whether it's before election, after election.
How ironical. Women being so powerful, yet have few grounds in decision making.
They see you as a wife, and I see you as a wife to a man.
We are talking women in politics.
A woman will be bold enough to stand up and say, I want to become president of Nigeria.
Only on Core